Okay, we are recording. Things are going to start happening to me now. See if you parents could figure out that movie if you're watching at home. Has nothing to do with science. Welcome to fifth grade science Tuesday. Anybody know the date? October something. 27th. Thank you, Joseph or Joey. Sorry, I get mixed up. Today is October 27th. I can't wait for Halloween, and for all you moon and science buffs, it will be a full moon this Halloween. Shh, shh. It will be a full moon, which doesn't happen too often on Halloween, I'm told. And actually, we had two full moons this month, and I believe the second one might be called a blue moon because it's the second one in 1 month. Is that what you're going to say?
Halloween.
Okay, that's what Ava was going to say. It's just hard for me to gather my thoughts if I get interrupted a lot. But you and I were thinking the same thing, right, Ava? Good girl. Okay. Our lesson is wearing down the Earth's surface. And what I want to do today is we read this page yesterday and we talked about weathering and sediments and the digging I was doing in my yard and how it's all washing down towards my neighbor's yard and I need to plant some grass. You know, it's all part of weathering and wearing down the Earth's surface. That's on a very small scale what's happening in my yard. On a larger scale, I know when I go to Ocean City, Maryland, and I go through the mountains of Pennsylvania, I see a sign that says Chesapeake Bay Watershed. Does anybody know why they would tell us that that area in Pennsylvania leads to the ocean in Maryland? Does anybody know why? Okay, Joey?
I don't know why, but I wrote it. I wrote a boat on there.
Okay, so you've been in Chesapeake Bay? So what they're trying to tell us with that sign is anything that happens in the mountains of Pennsylvania is going to affect the bay in Maryland and Delaware and probably, I don't know what other states make up the Chesapeake Bay, but definitely those two states. So what we do in Pennsylvania in our mountains affects what happens a whole state away, hundreds of miles away. And that deals with wearing down the Earth's surface. So we can't pollute things in the mountains because it's going to end up in the ocean someday. It's going to go to a stream, to a river, eventually to the bay. And fish are going to get sick, and I won't get to have good seafood on vacation. So wearing down the Earth's surface, that's what it means to me. What happens in my yard, what happens in Pennsylvania, how it affects the rest of the planet. So I was going to focus on C15 today and then talk a little bit about your website. C15 talks about cave formation. Weak acids form in rainwater and seep into the ground where they weather rock. Over time, holes are produced. Eventually, the holes grow into caves. Although mechanical weathering breaks rocks, it does not change the type of rock. In chemical weathering, rocks change into other materials. Guys, when I made your quiz, I tried very hard not to put chemical weathering and mechanical weathering in the same question because it's hard sometimes to figure out between the two which one's which. So if we're talking about weathering, look at your four choices. Pick the one that deals with weathering. Okay? Sometimes when you go to fill in the blank, those choices make no sense. Like put the word in there, and if it's like the blank affects the cave because of weathering. And if one of the choices is the cave affects the cave because of weathering, don't pick the word cave. The sentence doesn't make any sense. The sentence has to sound like it makes sense, and the word has to fit. And I'm not going to put those two terms together, although I could. I would rather, since this is your first time learning it, not try to confuse you. Back to the book. Water is the main factor that causes chemical weathering. Water can dissolve some minerals that make up rocks. Water also dissolves certain chemicals from the air and soil to form a weak acid. This acidic water can easily dissolve certain minerals. The type of minerals in rock also affects weathering. For example, weak acids dissolve limestone and marble more easily than some other minerals. Generally, a combination of different types of weathering is at work in a region. Most weathering takes place at or near the Earth's surface. However, water trickling through the ground can affect rocks far beneath the surface. caves are underground, hollow areas created by weathering. Large caves are often called caverns. Most caverns are made from limestone. Weak acids seep into the ground until they reach a zone soaked with water. As the groundwater becomes more acidic, it dissolves minerals in the rock. Over time, holes are produced in the rock. The holes grow, creating passages, chambers, and pits, and eventually become caves. At first, the caves are full of water. Over time, the water drains away. All right, let me check the time. Okay, we are at about 5 minutes, so we have a little bit of time to talk. Years ago, guys, there was a group of, I believe it might have been scouts, like something like Boy Scouts, but it was in another country. And they decided to go exploring caves. And there were times that they found pockets of water. So they just walked through the pockets of water. And they got to the other end of the cave. Now the smart thing they did was they left some equipment outside the cave. Well, guess what? It started raining and the water was coming in, seeping in from the ground. And there were pockets of water that filled up and they were able to get to some high ground in the cave. So they stayed there and people went looking for this group of kids and they saw all their equipment outside the cave. And somebody realized how much it was raining. So they sent scuba divers in and they had to swim through parts of the cave that these kids walked through at one point. And they brought scuba tanks for them so they could swim back through with them. Why couldn't they just leave them in there till the water drained? Does anybody know? Ava?
They would suffocate?
They would suffocate. They would run out of air eventually. There was enough air for a little bit of time, but not forever. Not until all that water drained out. They got every one of the kids out of the cave. So guys, it sounds neat to explore caves. And there are caverns, which are caves in this area, like the Laurel Caverns. They give you guides and they take you through them. I've actually never been through them yet. Has anyone ever been through the Laurel Caverns? Okay, we have at least 2 people.
Wait, where is that located?
Probably about an hour or so from here.
I think I have.
All right, 2, maybe 3. Some people have been to caves and can't remember.
I don't know.
All right. Well, have you ever felt like you've been in a cave? Does that sound like something you might have done?
Oh no.
Okay. How about this? Do you think you drove by the sign that says Laurel Caverns and thought maybe you want to do it?
Is it by like that Tiger Lake thing?
Tiger Lake.
Isn't it a tiger place by someone's?
No, it's Tiger Lake. It's a lake.
I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure because there's different caverns around here. But if you wanted to, with your parents, you could say, let's go explore the caverns. These are safe because they have tour guides. Hold on, everybody. They have tour guides, and you don't have to go into the areas you're not comfortable with. You might go into just the entry area, see what a cave looks like, and they might say, who wants to squeeze down this passageway and explore more? If you're not afraid, go ahead. But these caves are much different than the ones that filled up with water. That doesn't happen all the time. That was kind of a fluke thing that happened. All right, but caves are formed from erosion, from water wearing away rocks and causing underground open spaces. They fill up with water, the water drains away, and generally it stays away, okay? All right, so our quiz will be on Thursday because we're not in school on Friday. Tomorrow we'll give you study guides on paper. If for some reason you lose that, that is always on Google Classroom on lesson plans and study guide. The exact same thing that I give you on paper is on the computer. Also, we don't really want you during the quiz looking at that study guide. So when we take the quiz on Thursday, you have to have that in your memory. And like I said, you could probably pass that test without even seeing the study guide before because some of the words just don't make sense when you fill in the blank. Okay? You'll get down to 2 words that make sense, and then one of them should be really obvious. Okay? If you rush through that test and say, I'm just going to put anything in for answers, you'll get about 3 out of 10 if you're lucky. And I have kids doing that. And I'm giving them more chances, but every time I give them another chance, I mark it in red in my grade book. 1 chance, 2 chance. I start giving you too many chances, you're not even trying. So do it right the first time. What is today's website about? Can anyone tell me? Remember I asked you to pull them up? Okay, Joey, what is it about?
Breaking
how weathering is breaking down rocks. Joey, can you read maybe one or two sentences?
Sure. Weathering is the breaking down or dissolving of rocks and minerals on Earth's surface.
Okay, so weathering is the breaking down of minerals or rocks on Earth's surface. Now, if you were going to do a summary of this website, you could say, I learned today about weathering and sediments and rocks. That's not exactly what that sentence says. It's close. It's in your own words. However, you could scroll down a little bit, read some more, and then give me 3 to 5 sentences. And guys, right now we have lots of time left in class. We have 20 minutes. So you shouldn't just like rush through this. You should take your time, read the article first, and then from memory, tell me what you remember. Let me ask you guys this, and I have a feeling we're going to have to keep saying this. Nobody should be typing right now. Look up here. Is it ever appropriate to go into a website and highlight a whole section and then copy and paste it and say that's in my words? What I just copy and pasted is in my words. Is that appropriate? Why is it not appropriate? You're lying and you're cheating. Okay? That's what the author said. You can say, I read an article on weathering. This is what it said. And some of your words are going to be the same as the author's, but it can't be identical. That's copying and pasting. And it's just not, it's going to get you in trouble later in life, and it might even get you in trouble in here. First thing I look when I see your answers is there something misspelled, or is there something spaced out a little differently? That right away that says, you know what, I know they put this in their own words. But if you don't want to misspell or space things out too far apart, you don't have to do that. But I can almost tell instantly looking, did you copy and paste this? Don't do it, guys. There's at least 1 or 2 in each class that are just still doing it. I want everybody to spend 10 minutes reading the article before they're allowed to type. They'll probably use this for my thumbnail. I hate when they do that. YouTube, they'll find the funniest pose you do, and they'll be like, okay, that's the picture. And it's usually me with my hands in the air. Anyway, right now, read for at least 10 minutes, then you can start typing 3 to 5 sentences. Sound fair? Go for it. Online learners, we'll see you tomorrow. Everybody say goodbye.